Hi, it's Andy with our daily discipleship video for Monday this week. And today and tomorrow, I'm going to be looking at different types of prayers that are within the Bible. Now, I may not touch on every type of prayer, and I might use a term that you might have a different term for that same type of prayer. And that's fine, but I'm just going to give us a basic overview because this week's passage is about a simple prayer request from Paul, and actually an even simpler prayer from Paul. The prayer request that Paul made to the Romans, two parts, fairly simple. His prayer back for the Romans, may the God of peace be with you. So each of those two types of prayers would be called a prayer of intercession because we are interceding for others, but the Bible does contain many other types of prayer. Some will say that there's like 4 to 6 types of prayer. Others will say there's about 10 to 12. What I'm going to do today and tomorrow is I'm going to give you 9. Again, some would contract these together. Some might expand some of these. That's perfectly fine. But so this 9 isn't a magic number. It's not the right number necessarily. I'm just choosing 9. And again, all of these are found in the Bible. So I'm going to cover 4 today and then 5 tomorrow. And I should also say that the prayers that I'm going to list are in no particular order, other than the fact that I am going to start with intercessory prayer or prayers of intercession, because again, the prayer that Paul prayed and the prayers that he requested were a intercessory type of prayer here in Romans 15, verses 30 through 33. So that's the first one, intercession, prayers of intercession. An intercessory prayer is amongst the most common of all types of prayer. If you're in a small group, if you're in a Sunday school class, if you are in a church service and somebody says, hey, could you pray for so-and-so? Or if you're passing somebody in the road or somebody calls you and said, I need you to pray for, what they are asking you is to intercede for them, or potentially you asking them to intercede for you or a friend or some situation. Can you just pray about this? We're asking for someone else to pray on our behalf, or they are asking us to pray on their behalf. And so, again, in Romans 15:30, Paul appeals to the Romans to pray for him, and then he gives a couple of different ideas on how he wants them to pray. And then in 15:33, he intercedes for them by saying, may the God of peace be with you all. Very short, simple prayer, but it is a prayer where Paul is interceding on behalf of the people of the church at Rome. And again, we see intercessory prayers all over the place, on social media or whatever. So that is the first kind. Now, the second type of prayer is a prayer of supplication. Supplication is similar to an intercessory prayer in the sense that we are asking God for something, that we are requesting something for God. So in an intercessory prayer is that we are praying for something on behalf of someone else, and therefore supplication, we are supplicating, we are making a request for something, we are even begging for something in a humble manner, and so that is a form of intercessory prayer. But supplication itself, we can do for ourselves. We are making a request for ourselves on behalf of ourselves in some way. And so Jesus taught his disciples this type of prayer. Give us today our daily bread. That is a supplication. I'm not praying for somebody else necessarily to get bread, even though that word us is there. I'm praying for me, us to get bread. Forgive us our debts, even with the caveat that we are to forgive others with that. Deliver us from evil. So we are making supplications to God on our own behalf. These statements are all requests, and therefore are supplications being made to God. So we have intercessory prayer, and we have prayers of supplication. The third type of prayer is a prayer of faith. Now, a prayer for faith or a prayer of faith would be similar to what the Father said to Jesus in Mark chapter 9, verse 24, where he said, I believe, but help my unbelief. In that case, he is praying for faith. Give me more faith. I do believe. but I want to believe more. So in this case, he is wanting more faith. He is wanting a greater faith. But a prayer of faith, meaning a prayer from the perspective of faith, having a complete faith, we find an example in James 5:15, when James wrote that the prayer of faith will save the sick. And of course, when Jesus spoke to God before doing miracles, and one prime example would be him raising Lazarus from the dead, we could consider those prayers of faith. That because of the faith that Jesus had, those miracles happened. So again, a prayer of faith or a prayer from faith would be the third type. And then the fourth type and the last one for today is a prayer of confession. Now, this type of confession we normally think of as a confession of sin, although really what confession is to be in agreement with someone else. That is what the word truly means, that we are in agreement. And so if we are in agreement that God is the great creator of the universe, a prayer of confession could be a type of worship prayer. But I'm going to save worship for tomorrow. So a couple of examples that come to mind as we think about a prayer of confession would be in Luke 18, for instance, a short one where the tax collector cries out, "God, have mercy on me, a sinner." There's a prayer of confession right there, just those few short words. God, have mercy on me, I am a sinner. Prayer of supplication, have mercy on me, but because confession, I am a sinner. Another prayer of confession is in Psalm 51, where David confesses, "Against you and you only have I sinned." Now, part of that prayer, those words are just one part of Psalm 51, which is a prayer in response to an overall confession of the sin that David committed against Bathsheba and Uriah in that story that you might remember from 2 Samuel. So those are 4 types of common prayers that we find in the Bible. Tomorrow I will share another 5.